The more you put into yourself, the more you'll get out of what you do. Let's just put it that way. So you got to start somewhere. Just do the best you can with what you've got. There's periods where I am incredibly financially just strapped and I've got to make do with what I've got. There's been times where I've only been able to, live on $100 or less a month, and I've made it work. And I've still been much healthier than the average American, who just because you have lots of money doesn't mean you know how to feed yourself. Some of the most unhealthy people I know are the ones that have the biggest paychecks. Money is not a symptom of having wisdom. Let's just put it that way. But lion's mane mushroom. Oftentimes, ladies and gentlemen, I'll put reishi mushroom in my coffee. I'll put some lion's mane. I will put some Bacopa monnieri and some cordyceps mushrooms. I really like the medicinal mushrooms in my coffee in the morning. The medicinal mushrooms exert a very calming effect on the consciousness, on the brain. Some of these mushrooms that I use, especially like the lion's mane, they actually help regenerate myelin within the brain. So it's important that we do things on a regular, consecutive basis to remain healthy in this crazy world, because I've said it once and I'll say it again. We are exposed to over 500 toxic chemicals and additives and metals and, pollutive elements on a daily basis. And that's a large number, and that catches up to you in a relatively short amount of time. The body can only handle so much damage. So it gets to a point where your body just starts to accumulate metals because it can no longer process and constantly dump them out of your system. The air that you breathe is not actual air, ladies and gentlemen. It may sustain your life. It may be able to keep your heart beating. It may be able to, again, sustain your life, but it's not actually air. Real air stimulates the lungs in a very profound way. It stimulates your pituitary gland. It stimulates your pineal gland. It awakens Kundalini. Real air is prana. They have taken our air supply, which is supposed to be a food source, and they've turned it into a chemical soup. It's basically like we're all hooked on cigarettes. The quality of air that we're breathing here in the United States and most nations worldwide is akin to a toxic soup, very similar to cigarette smoke. Proof of this is get into an airplane, I can't speak today, fly over a major city during the day, and when you land, when you start getting down to a lower elevation, you'll be able to see all of the garbage floating in the cities. We're all breathing that shit. What they've done to human health, what they've done to the dimension that we live in, what they've done to our genes is exponentially just, it's amazing what they've actually been able to pull off here in this matrix. They've turned us into a domesticated creature that lives in a false environment, and they've fed us poisons pretty much since the time we were in mama's womb. So, again, we were exposed to over 500 at a bare minimum of these toxins on a daily basis. And it gets to a point where your body just starts to just get exhausted. It's like, holy shit, I can't keep up with this constant inundation of these poisons. So, okay, I'll take a little bit of this aluminum from the atmosphere that I'm breathing and I'll store it in the brain. I'll take a little bit of this mercury and I'll store it here. I'll take a little bit of these heavy metals and I'll store it in this particular part of my physiology. I'll take some of this excessive iron, which we're all exposed to, and store it in my liver. So if you don't think that you're toxic, you are living in a dream world, ladies and gentlemen. There is no way that you are not toxic in this toxic world, this matrix, this hell realm, this nightmare scenario. Now, I don't want to sound like too much of a pessimist because there's much hope here in this dimension. We have the ability to awaken certain regions of our consciousness, certain regions of our physiology that can align our minds with God, that can align our consciousness with what I like to call heaven consciousness, which is what we are all designed to experience, folks. Just because we're living in this crazy nightmare scenario doesn't mean that we don't have the tools, the time, and the capabilities to turn things around for ourselves. But you have to become selfish in this world if you want to attain those qualities, because the world seeks to keep you in a perpetual state of dis-ease. Constant strife, constant struggles, constantly burning the candle at both ends. The system designs things so that the friends that you have that are all lost. I mean, how would I explain this? Bear with me, folks. The system throws us into the education system at a young age. And we attain the programming from the education system, which is just garbage, absolute garbage. Doesn't teach you anything about enlightenment, how to breathe properly, how to attain internal alchemy and really like turn on your kundalini, ladies and gentlemen. It teaches you a bunch of garbage. I've talked about this in previous videos. I don't want to get into it too much in this video. If you're interested, go back and watch those videos. School programs you. It takes you and it programs you. In layman's terms, we can come to that conclusion and just say that generally speaking, school takes you and programs you. It takes you from the truth and turns you into something else. And it does that to all of the people in the school with you. So now you attain these friendships with these people who are lost just like you are, and you make little cliques or groups of friends. Most people have a particular group of friends throughout school that they hang out with and spend most of their time with in the school system. And those friends are just as lost as you. And by hanging out with those people, you perpetuate each other's programming by helping each other excel the programs. I hope that makes sense. So the system programs you, puts you into situations where you're constantly around other people who are programmed that solidify your programming even more. You get to share your programming with a group of people that most people call friends. There's toxins everywhere coming in around us. They've completely saturated the water supply with mind control additives and excessive amounts of particular chemicals and additives and metals that when ingested, dysregulate specific minerals in your body, such as magnesium, such as copper, you name it. So magnesium is a huge piece to this puzzle.